Alrighty then. Man,
Stuck him in the head with a crankbait's what happened, and now I'm about to rip it out of his head.
there he is. That's on me. That so sick. No. How you making, Bone Gang, and welcome back to another live recording of the Pelican Bone Outdoors podcast. Today we got my boy Heath Panganiban. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? I appreciate you having me, man. It's been a while since we kicked it in real life, but at least we get to connect, man, on the podcast here. So
yeah, dude, it's been a hot minute, as they say.
It has.
So Heath and I met. God, how many years ago was that? I don't even know.
I mean, honestly, probably in I'd say 2017. Yeah, 2017.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So Heath started YakTribe, and I'll let him go into that in a minute. And I met him through that. I don't even know who it was that first came in contact with YakTribe, and then
like from your end.
Yeah, like from over here.
It could have been Xavier.
It was. I think it was Xavier.
It could have been Phil. Xavier. Yeah, Phil, yeah. David, those guys. But yeah, Xavier was kind of Xavier, Phil, David. Those were like some front runners for your area.
Yeah, right on. Yep. So we got linked up with them and got really into the YakTribe thing, man. The YakTribe does a lot of good things. Why don't you go ahead and just explain a little bit about?
Yeah, hey, definitely. But hey, you came out right to our first kind. It wasn't even a meetup, but when we gave that kayak to Xavier.
Yeah, absolutely.
You were at that.
Yes.
And so that was literally our very, very first endeavor in any sort of outside of my city type thing.
Really?
Yeah, so when we loaded up and headed to Louisiana, Matt Roberts connected with some sort of manager from Dick's Sporting Goods or something like that. He got the kayak. He got that at his house. Me and my best friend John drove from Tampa Bay, Florida over to Louisiana. Showed up at Matt Roberts' house probably 2 a.m. He still decides to do a fish fry and cook us dinner, and we're just exhausted. And then we go and meet you guys, do that, giveaway, and then we start fishing. So that's
yeah,
dude, that was the very beginning. So I say 2017, but actually, Vinny, it's been since 2016 because we did that in 2016.
Wow. Man, yeah. It's been a while, huh?
It's been a while.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Man. But YakTribe, like you were saying, YakTribe, man, it's just a community of kayak fishermen, kayak anglers. And you can't see it on this banner. I'm actually posted up in my truck right now because we're at a campground in Georgia. But it's real people, real stories, real connections, and it's always been like that. So, we're not like the biggest. We definitely don't have the most Instagram followers. If you type in kayak fishing, there's kayak bass fishing. The boys over at Yak Addicts, and we're not by any means definitely the biggest following, but what I can say is aside from those things, Ben, how it's always been. It's always not been about the clout or the hype or any of those things. It's been just having real connections outside of the social media world and linking up, fishing, doing meetups, and having a good time. And so that's pretty much what YakTribe's all about. And we just saw a need in 2015 in the very beginning to have and create a no drama, no conflict type community. And if you've been part of YakTribe for long enough, we basically kicked any of those rats out that just causing drama. It's always just been laid back and cool vibes, hanging out with people, and that's what it's all about, man.
Yep, I agree, man. It's been great. I need to get in touch with some people though, man. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I see Phil every now and then, but I've been wanting to get out with him. David, I ain't talked to in a while.
Yeah,
man,
Phil's the man. If you see him around next time, tell him I said hey, because he's a great guy. He's a great guide in Louisiana. I mean, that if you're looking to get on redfish, he's a great guy to put you on it.
Yeah, he actually he lives in the area where I work at the firehouse. So he lives in my area. So I run into him, and in my firehouse is a spot where they vote, a polling place. So he I see him if I'm working on election day. I'll see him come by and everything. But
Nice,
yeah,
nice.
he's a good dude. He's a real
Very
good
cool.
dude.
He really
Heck
is, yeah.
yeah. So you don't do much bass fishing, huh? Y'all just straight inshore.
I mean, funny enough is like someone just commented on my Facebook post. I just posted this picture on Facebook on a campground, and they were like, "Go to this other campground in so and so state, and it's got great bass fishing." And I commented back, "Hey, sounds really great, but you lost me at bass fishing, right?" So I will say, I only bass fish if I am like back in the day. If I'm living at like an apartment and it has a lake, I'm
Right.
definitely gonna fish that lake. I know we have great bass fishing in Tampa Bay, Florida, in like golf courses and lakes and all around Florida. But I just grew up on the salt, and so it's really hard to get me into the freshwater bass fishing. Although I've said, if there's some bass fishermen out there that want to take me out, show me the ropes, I'm happy to do it. But I will. The only time I catch bass is if, like I said, I'm fishing a lake with my son or something, or I accidentally catch one while I'm fishing brackish water. That's it. Uh,
And so I grew up brackish water fishing. Grew up saltwater
yeah,
fishing. You know, it was always shrimp on a cork or shrimp on the bottom. I didn't even get into artificial back in the day.
right, right.
But when I got my kayak, there was I was still learning where to take it to go fishing. So the few spots that I did take it, one was Bayou St. John in New Orleans, and then this little spot actually where I moved. It's right down the road from me. But before I even moved here, I would always hit that the little canal, and I started bass fishing because I didn't know where to go yet. Well, I didn't go where I didn't know where to go until I met YakTribe, and people started showing me where to go. But
Yeah.
dude, I started learning how to bass fish, and man, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm hooked. I'm hooked on it, dude. Now, don't get me wrong. If I had to choose one fish, it's gonna be a redfish. I'm not. I will never give up inshore fishing.
Sure.
But dude, I think if you gave bass fishing a try just because of the difference in it,
Mhm.
it would be a separate addiction. But I mean, I
I
get
believe that. I will say, like, I have some videos on YouTube, and I've gone bass fishing, and I can see if, like, okay, for instance, like when we were living on the road and I was hitting up like Southern Moon Outfitters and spending time in Georgia, and we would stay on a lake, and like I loved it. I'd go out there, fish for bass, a bass on top water or spinning bait, something like that. I could see how, if that was my only option, right? How I could just become like addicted to like colors and lures and like figuring everything out, and just pulling out like the biggest bass I can, and it's still only like this big. Where's the camera? Like this big. I get the fight for like the biggest green fish, but again, like I grew up in Tampa Bay. Like we're a peninsula within a peninsula surrounded by salt water, right? So it's like my wife and I talked about before we moved back to Tampa Bay, we were actually going to start a new life, like post up and just live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We really loved that area. Um, my wife really loved that area, like more than anything. And I told her, I was like, I'll definitely, I'll fish for bass, I'll fish for catfish. I know people, but as long as you promise me every 3 months, I can take a week or 2 week trip down to the salt and just, go to
Thing.
pack
Yeah.
and post up. It's just, I can't get it out of my system, man.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about in 9 years my wife retires, and we talk about possibly picking up and moving somewhere. And I would love like the Chattanooga. I love Tennessee. I love that the Smokies. But I would have the same issue. I'd have to break away to get back
Yeah.
down to the salt.
Yeah, and from Chattanooga, like that, from Chattanooga down to Louisiana, I've done that trip actually. I I I needed it so bad. I have a video of this. I drove through a hurricane to get from. I just had to get. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to go to Salt, and it takes like 8.5 hours if you're
Yeah.
like gunning it, to get to down by you guys. It's not
Yep.
that bad.
Y'all have so I guess the what different species do we have besides the snook? Is there any other brackish water? Is it really
Tarpon,
just
juvenile
okay?
juvenile tarpon. Um, yeah, y'all got sheep's head. I can tell. I know they're out there, and I've seen people catch them. Actually, I saw Xavier catch one, but I don't see people pulling up flounder as much over by you. unless I'm just not seeing it or people not posting it.
Flounder. So flounder used to be a lot more plentiful down here,
Hmm.
and I don't know what happened. This past year actually was the first year that I ever remember in my lifetime where they actually closed flounder for a couple months.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's habitat. I don't know. I mean, there's a
Protecting.
lot
Yeah.
of conservation stuff going on.
Yeah.
With them talking about changing limits for a bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
But I think I don't know. I don't know what happened to the flounder. We used to be able to see them all over the place, and now they're scarce.
Right. Yeah, man. It's actually one thing we should talk about because I know we're gonna go into like at some point about some fishing differences between me and you or our two
Oh yeah,
states.
yeah.
Limits are definitely like at the top of the list.
Well, let's get into it. So like, all right. So redfish. I know we can keep 5, and one
Sure.
can be a bull red,
One
27
can be a
or
bull
over.
rig. Yep.
So what is that in Florida?
Yeah. So over in Florida, I used to say like depending on where you're at, but it's pretty much the same. Pretty much the same now. And they have FWC has this map in like 5 different regions on where you can and can't because we were locked down in Florida for redfish and trout for a while. Snook were locked down, for a long time. Um, but all of them are back open in different seasons. But
Was that because of
redfish,
that algae bloom or whatever?
well, we had the
That
we had
red
bad freezes, and the freezes killed a lot of a snook back in the day, and then but the red tide like took out
the red
took out a
tide, yeah.
lot of our redfish and trout and just a lot of our fish all the time. Captains for Clean Waters, they're all up in Tallahassee and putting in work to protect our grass flats, because it's just all the drainage and the runoff and all types of just pollution in our water. Just it's just terrible for red tide and all that algae buildup. But when it comes to redfish, yeah, we have our slots too. Pretty much for the most part, it's like 18 to 27 and one over. You can have one over, but you can only keep one in my area. I believe there are some parts above me where I think you can keep two. But I don't really keep track of that because I'm only really looking at my zone for the most part, and my zone's pretty big. And then trout, we can only keep. I think we can keep two. Yeah, we can keep two trout. Yeah, right.
You could only
We
keep 2 trout.
Yeah, we used to be able to keep five. Um, Wait, am I thinking about this wrong? Man, I'm in different terms right now because I'm fishing for freshwater trout right now.
Oh,
But our trout, we definitely can't keep as many as you guys, and we can only have one above 19 inches. So I think you guys can have 25, and
it don't matter how big they are.
but I thought
Well,
they had to
they have
be
to be
over 10
12.
inches.
They have
They
to
had to
be
be
over 12. 12
yeah,
or
to be
over, and
12
it
or
doesn't
over.
matter. Yeah, and it could be as big as whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
they actually, so this kind of makes me mad. They put out a thing. They were Wildlife put out something intent that they were intending to change the limit. They
Okay.
put it up to the vote, and from my understanding, I didn't get to watch it, but I heard on another podcast they put it up to a vote. Not the public, but whoever makes decisions, the politicians.
The
Uh,
money bags. Yep.
yeah, they all shot it down. It was a unanimous no. So, I mean, we're losing habitat like crazy, so that's going to affect things.
Yeah,
And
you're
then,
losing habitat, you're losing grass. I mean, marshland, you're losing a lot.
and the limits haven't been changed in forever, like decades. So they were talking about reducing the limit down to 15, making it you have to have them 13 and a half inches and up to keep. I mean, it was some really good things. I was all about it. I was all about it.
Yeah,
And then I found
yeah,
out they
yeah,
shoot it down. And then,
yeah.
but then I just got an email not too long ago that they're putting out surveys to see about the redfish limits, about hopefully trying to change the redfish limits. So hopefully, when they come to something, hopefully that gets voted in and not shot down too. Because
Yeah,
I mean, we need to do something. Them limits haven't been changed in a long time, and
yeah.
you know,
That's the funniest thing is like when I first started fishing in Louisiana, it was in 2016, and my first spot I ever went to was Pack Kayak, right? And I have this picture of Mr. Eddie, man. He looks like a baby. He's like baby faced. He's baby faced, man. And because all that hard work, man, he puts in so much hard work in that place, and then a hurricane comes and obliterates it, and then he gets right
Start
back to
over.
it
Yep.
and he puts it. It just amazes me how he does it. I mean, he's just offering a great service to our community. But I remember when I first went down there, I caught my first red the first day when I went out with Matt. And that was back when that gas station was still open on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that last gas station when you're turning right to go to Pack.
Yep.
They were still serving burgers and gas and stuff. And I got a funny story about that place. But I caught a red and it was like 14 inches, and Matt was like, "It's a keeper." I was like, "What? Are you joking? This is a keeper? I thought they gotta be like 18." And it was just
It's
wild.
16. Yeah.
16, yeah, it was just wild. And then I learned the limit was 25 because we were fishing the power lines all the way down, and I was catching like, these little trout. But I'll tell you this, man, it's no wonder why it's hard to come across a big trout there,
Yep.
because you're just catching dinks and babies all the time, just killing them all, and especially where they're doing all the netting. I can only imagine like how many more fish. What area I'm talking about, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
all the netting right there. It's like I can only imagine all the byproduct that gets killed and stuff. But hey, man, I know people are just trying to eat. I love eating fish. I'm not just
Oh
catching.
yeah.
I eat fish. You know me. I bring home fish, and so. But at some point, I will say Florida. I didn't like it in the beginning when I was younger because I didn't understand it. But they locked trout down, and I was like, "Oh, this is terrible. All I want to do is eat a sandwich, and this is America, and I'm Asian, and I want to eat this. This is just dumb." And then they locked down redfish, and I was like, "Oh, this is just even more dumb." And then it was locked down for a few years. Now I'm out fishing, and it seems like on average I'm catching 19, 20-inch trout on average. And the reds, we got reds. They might be more spooky, and I got things to say about that later, but we have when you go out, you can see all of our 3 or 4 major fish that we have to offer. And so I attribute it to the fact that they were able to lock it down, and it really made me pretty mad in the beginning. But I totally understand, and I'm grateful for it because we're catching fish.
Right.
So
Yeah. If they don't do something, we're gonna run into some trouble
yeah. Hey,
soon.
who you should have on? I know I'm on right now, but if you ever wanted to do a special about your local area, Sarah would be an amazing person to bring on. Sarah Giles.
I know the name. I'm trying to
Sarah
think of.
Giles, fly fishing girl. I made that video fly fishing from her little yellow kayak.
Oh
She's at
yeah.
Pack all the time. But that's like her expertise is like Louisiana marshland and water and habitat.
Right on. Yeah, I want to get some biologists, some local biologists and stuff on. Because I want to focus a lot on conservation with
Yeah.
with the podcast and on my channel. I try and get little tidbits in there, like when you catch a fish, make sure like you wet your measuring board, you wet your hands when you touch them, so you don't mess up the slime coat. Because
Yeah.
a lot of people, like a lot of people with the trout, they catch and release, catch and release. Yeah, the fish swam off when I threw it back. Yeah, he swam off.
And
But
died.
right, that's the thing. You got delayed mortality. You take the slime coat off, then it gets infections, and then anything else that happens to it, it's too stressed out, it can't survive.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's simple things that we can do to try and keep the longevity of the fish. That way, we don't run into issues like that.
For
But
sure.
just trying to educate a little bit at a time, without beating. I don't want to beat nobody over the head with it, but
Yeah, I get it,
yeah,
man.
we need to educate. But
Definitely. Yeah, man. Hey, we also got some other differences, like when it comes to Florida and Louisiana. And I think a big difference is our water clarity.
yeah, you think?
Yeah. I remember like my first time, right? I was fishing in Louisiana, and I bring over my Florida gear and I start fishing with just these colors I use, root beers, chartreuse tails, which actually that one's fine, but like root beer, like all root beer or a lot of pearl type stuff. And I start like walking into the shops and stuff, and all I see is like all these like fluorescence. It was like a new world to me back in 2016. It's like everything's like bright and glow in the dark and like chartreuse everything and chicken head lures and like all of these
The chicken on a chain.
chicken on chains and like all these things I've never. What is this is like a joke, and I guess, I started to learn like with this dirty water, but I started to notice the difference in the two. And so it's like when I was fishing in Louisiana or when I go there, I feel like I can get away with way more than I can get away with in Florida, right? So, in Louisiana, you're always, there's always a chance, you can spook a fish with a drop of a paddle on your kayak
Right.
or with your shadow. I've seen spooked fish with, my shadow or whatever. But it's like in Florida, if you even get, depending on where you're fishing, which is a lot of areas, I mean, the redfish, I mean, once it sees you or anything in its environment changes or like here's a I mean, that thing just darts away, right? And you got to fight like all these issues and be like super incognito, watch out for your shadow, think about where you're putting stuff so it's not clanking around, think about where the tide's going so you can come up behind it or whatever you're trying to do. Look, stand on on your cooler so you can see way ahead and just get the edge in any way you can. But in Louisiana, like there's some times where I'd be fishing and I would like accidentally, Rex would have like this new contraption and he'd be like, try this new pad, or, paddle holder. And I'd like fall out, because we're like, doing research and development. And that red is just still chilling, just like right there. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, oh my gosh. Or, I'd like miss 6 times. It's not even phased.
So y'all fish are just naturally more spooky, or you think it's just because of the clear water?
It's a lot of things, man. It's because of the clear water and because I know people think like there's so many fishermen. There really is so many fishermen in Louisiana. But you guys got like a lot of places to hide and you guys even got all these areas that people don't even know if they're allowed to be in. You know what I mean?
Right.
and
Yeah.
and then you just got like all these secret places and your water's dirty and all this stuff. I'm not saying it's easier, okay? It's also hard fishing there too. But what I am saying is like in Florida, like I said, Tampa Bay specifically, we're a peninsula and then Florida's a peninsula, right?
Right.
Everybody fishes in Florida. Everybody. Like you go to anyone's garage, they have a rod. I mean, even if it's dusty, at least it exists, right, in their garage. Everyone's fishing. And so our fish are just so pressured all the time. We have I feel like for every one guide you have in Louisiana, we've got 20. We
I
just got a
believe it.
lot.
I
It's just a
believe it.
lot. Yeah, it's just a lot. And
Man, I
so
gotta get over there.
yeah, when I'm fishing over your area, I just feel like I can get away with more because I'm so used to fishing all these scary fish that when I get over there, you know what I'm saying?
Dude, talking about the dirty water, I remember when the day we gave Xavier the kayak, going
Yeah,
out there, and I
yeah.
said, "Man, the water is clear today." And I don't remember if it was you. I think it was you or one of y'all was like, "This is clear." I'm like, "Yeah, you can see almost
This
a
is
foot down." and,
Oh my
and-
goodness, man.
yep.
No, bro, like my home spots where I fish, like when I go from like a flat to a hole, like a channel, I can see 8, 9, 10 feet down to the bottom.
Yeah, no,
Like
you
I
ain't
can
getting
see
that
the
here.
grass. Yeah, I can see the grass, and all that. So
It's like a sandy bottom, huh? Or do y'all have mud, or is it all
yeah, we
sand?
got mud. Yeah, we got a lot of mud. We got a lot of sand. I love finding mud, especially in Florida. I know this isn't a how to fish Florida, thing, but you got to know where mud's at. I mean, you don't have to, but if you know if you can find mud in Florida, when it's cold, mud retains heat.
Yeah.
And so when it's cold, like muddy areas are really great spots to fish in Florida because they're warmer. So, anyways, just a little tip.
No, that's good. I'm writing this down.
Yeah.
I need to get over there, man. I need to get out there because I want to catch a snook. That's on the bucket list.
Oh man, I wish you would come because that's a mission that you can accomplish fairly decently. It's not too hard to do.
When's the best time?
All the time, man. Snook on top water on a low tide. I mean, it's just
Oh, I love top
or if it's
water.
high tide and you want to skip baits underneath the mangroves, they're pretty much easy. They're pretty easy to know where they're at.
Snook's good to eat.
Yeah. So snook is great to eat. But I also feel like people say it's great to eat just because you can't eat it as much. So the slot for snook It's a very hard slot to hit. I
Oh
want to say
wow.
it's like 28 to 32 or something like that.
Oh
And it's
really?
only open twice a year. So,
What?
and you have to have a stamp. So if you don't have a stamp
Jeez,
and you don't hit that 4-inch slot, and it's not one of those 2 times a year that the harvest is open for them, then you're not going to eat a snook.
good lord. All right, so that's the snook. Redfish. All right, you said what? You can keep 2
Yeah, no, well, I can keep 1 where I'm at. You can keep 1.
and not a bull red.
You can keep it over slot.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah.
And
And
then
that's 1. And I think per vessel, I think you can keep like 3 or 4 or something like that. But I'm not a captain over there, so I don't know how many a
right.
vessel can keep. Yeah.
And then trout is what?
Yeah, you can keep depending on where you're at as well. But I think you can keep 2. I think 2.
That is, and that
It
just
might
goes to
even be. It might be more than 2. But I can tell you this: I only keep 2.
right.
Yeah, so I think you can keep more than 2. I'm terrible. I live here. I don't even know the limits. So
Just don't go over them. You'll be all right.
yeah, there's literally times where I'm like on a fish. I'm really bad with these numbers and limits. That like I'll be fighting a fish and catch a fish. And I'll be like, Siri, call wife, and it's like calling wife. I'm like, what's the limit for redfish again? I always forget and it gets that way because I'm always fishing somewhere different, you know.
Right.
So I'll be in a different state all the time. So I'm like, oh, what's the limit? I forget.
What about flounder?
I don't even know. I don't know the limit.
Dude, I love flounder. Flounder is delicious.
Oh, that's different. You ever stuff them with stuff?
Yes, I've
Oh
had
yeah,
it. I've never done it myself, but
yeah.
it's
Because you
coming.
can get 4 fillets off of flounder. You know.
Right. Yep.
So you just slice and then stuff it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Stuff it with crab meat and stuff. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
man.
I love me some flounder, man.
Yep.
So you still got the Hobie, right?
Yeah. Yep. I have a Hobie. I have 2 actually. I bought Adam Whitbeck.
Mm-hmm.
I purchased his off of him before before he went over to paddleboard. He's back in the Hobie now, but I have his old PA. But right now I'm rigging up the new canoe because my son is getting old enough, and that's the kayak I usually use for like a lot of sheepshead fishing when I bring him out. But I'm rigging that one up so I can start getting on the water with him and teaching him the ropes of kayak fishing and safety.
Nice.
And then my third one that I use pretty regularly is my the inflatable the Sea Eagle inflatable. So I use that for like the backwaters of my neighborhood. Because I'm pretty close. So those are like the 3 I run right now.
Yeah, I got an old a Sin. That was the first one that I went out with. Well, that trip we went with Xavier, I had that trawler motor
Yep,
hooked
I
up
remember
to
that.
it, booking it.
Yep.
But once I got my Hobie, there was no looking back.
Yeah.
But I do want to get something even lighter than the Ascend. The Ascend's about, I don't know, 80, 90, maybe 80 pounds, I think. But I want something I can just, throw in for small, like skinny water, little canals and stuff like that.
Dude, don't sleep on inflatables, bro.
Really?
I'm telling you, man. Like, I was really hesitant with inflatables because I was like, oh man, these things are pop, oyster beds pop, all these types of things. I catch fish, they have like hard spines on them, like pop. But like the Sea Eagle I have, you can literally you can actually stab it like with a needle if you want to, like put like 5 needle holes in it, and that sucker will still be inflated for like 2 days.
Really?
Yeah, because they like kind of like, depending on the brand, they like kind of self-heal, and then you can like repair it, but my thought was like, if it gets a hole, it just goes pop.
Yeah.
But they're like, I mean, mine is the inflatable I use. They actually make the Coast Guard inflatable boats.
Oh wow. Okay.
So like, yeah, if you check out like this isn't like a promotion or anything, but if you check out like Sea Eagle's website, you can see how they have like the Coast Guard inflatable dinghies and everything. Yeah, so it's pretty durable.
Check that out.
Yeah, they're pretty durable. Yeah, and that weighs like 15 pounds.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Then you just strap a cooler or a seat on it and one on a rod holder, and you're now fishing those backwaters.
You got the Hobie 180, huh? With the 180 drive.
I switched it. Yeah, it's got the 180 in it.
Yeah, I want to buy that drive for mine, but I really want the 360. But dude, that's like $6,000 for that kayak right now.
Unreal, man. And the funny thing is like, okay, so I was at ICAST when they unveiled that, and then I also put up that video where they unveiled the Mike Ike red 360. And I've got like okay, so the first thing is like this, right? I have the 180 drive. I use it once every 10 trips.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like, all right, you have a Hobie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is any pedal drive. This is any kayak, really. When you're like fishing in your Hobie, and say you're gonna go fish a line, like a marsh line or something like that, you already know, like when you pull up, based on how the wind's going and the current's pushing you, like when you pull up, you already know if you're gonna like slam the rudder to the left and like coast it, or like you already know how to maneuver it in like the perfect way. You know what I'm saying? And when you're kayak fishing, you're already thinking ahead, right? So you're like, all right, I'm gonna pull up here, but I'm gonna let the current take me, 20 feet here and keep fishing this line. You're already kind of like thinking ahead. And so it's like, when I got the 180, I thought I was gonna use it all the time. I never use it. It's because I'm so like locked into like the water and how it's moving my kayak that I'll like I never need to go backwards.
Yeah, I would use it a lot more. I can't
Yeah,
tell
well,
you.
you're fishing lakes and stuff too.
No, I'm just even in the canals and the bayou because one is lilies. A lot of times I'll get hit in the lilies
Okay.
and I can't get through, so I have to pull out the paddle, back up, back up. The
Okay.
wind kicks my butt all the time. So,
Yeah.
dude, I can't tell you how many times I'll have to pull out a
Really?
paddle to back out. Yeah, yep.
Maybe you would use it more than me because I'm fishing more like open, like if I'm fishing a mangrove island or something or a line, there's like I'm not fighting lilies and stuff. So like for me, I'd never really need the only time I ever switch it into 180 is if I'm like really trying to hover over a hole against the current or you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I
No,
personally don't need it too much.
I would use the crap out of it, and that's why I want like that 360 because, I mean, there's a lot of times where all I need to do is scoot over and I can't.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I got to pull the paddle out. So I got to drop the rod, pull the paddle out,
Yeah.
and then I don't have the kick up fins either. So every time I
Yeah.
hit
Yeah.
something, dude,
It's always something new, man.
I've had to bend them rods so many times to straighten them out. And oh, dude.
Oh yeah. Hey,
So
there's a hack for that because I was bending my rods like crazy because like I was always bending them at pack because I didn't the first time I didn't really realize like as soon as you cross the canal it's like all oysters,
right.
and it's like I was just hitting my drives. I have to like limp back to the thing. I was like I broke it again. But if you're ever looking for a hack, you know this hack already, but anybody watching this looking for a hack or listening, okay, I always keep two in my hatch. Always. Like two fresh mass. Is that what they're called? Masses?
Mass. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I always keep two, and I always keep an adjustable wrench because you got to have that for the bottom. Like
Right.
if it's like jammed in there, fishing pliers will not work sometimes. But once you get back, instead of like buying new ones, I just take the hitch off of my truck and then bend them back in the hole.
And the hitch.
In the hitch hole.
Yeah.
Dude. And you can get like micro adjustments on that thing,
That's awesome.
It's
so
perfect.
like I can't even get one of mine off. It's in there. So like the part that it screws into spins inside the drive.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it won't back out.
Yeah.
So I have to stick the whole thing in a vise and I'm still able to do it, but that's what I got to do to get it done.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just debating because I got to get new fins. Both of my fins are dry rod. I'm gonna end up going out there and just not, I'm just gonna have to paddle back one day because it's gonna just fall apart.
Yeah.
And the two little nipples on the each end that I guess hold it lined up, so when you shove it in the kayak, it keeps it right up. Both of those are broken off. So it's like, do I want to? Because I can get the fin replacements for like $100.
Yeah.
Or do I put out the grand for the 180? But
Yeah.
it's not just the 180 that's the good thing. It's the kick up fins.
Yeah.
Because
how's the actual hole? Like, how's your kayak? Is it in good shape?
oh yeah, the kayak's fine.
Dude,
kayak strip.
yeah.
Like I
I
don't
was
want to
just
until I can afford, uh, the 360, which 6,000. That's just hard to put out. Um, or maybe I'll wait until they get something new and I can buy one on Facebook Marketplace for half that.
yeah.
Uh, I just want to go with the 180.
Definitely. Yeah, I got to test out the 360. I'll tell you what, it's awesome. It's like, but that's my biggest drawback's the price, and of course, and even this, bro, even the standard PAs are up in price now. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh yeah,
they're getting
everything's
up
more
there.
expensive.
Everything's up. My biggest concern about the 360 are the gears and like stripping the gears. Okay, you know what they remind me of, kinda? Um, those little battery powered like little Jeeps that kids drive,
Yeah. Yeah,
like
little
you get
Hot
it from
Wheels or
Walmart.
Power Wheels. Yeah.
Yeah, Power Wheels. Okay, you remember like when those things start to come to the end of their life and you hit the gas and it's like you can hear the plastic gears
Yeah.
spinning. They're like it's because those teeth have like bent,
Yeah, the teeth are worn down.
and worn down. And that's like the fear, and I see that a lot. Not a lot, but I see though that's like the area of breakdown in the 360s is like that area, and at least in the beginning. And so I don't know now. I could be speaking out of line, but I'm hoping that is going to be like a strong enough, to
Right.
like stand the length of time to be able to be used for like 5, 6, 10 years if you want to. Like, how often do you have to replace those? I'm not really sure, but I can say when I had it on the water, dude, that kayak, unbelievable. Micro adjustments, you can like be lined up with the dock and just go. It's
Yep.
like
I
wild, bro.
know.
That's
Then my
wild.
buddy just sold his, and I didn't have the money for it. I wanted to get it from him so bad,
Ah,
but I'm
yeah,
like, man, I don't need to be spending that money I don't have on something I don't really need because I already got the kayak.
yeah,
So, would you ever want a boat? Did you ever want a boat, or are you just all
yeah.
kayak?
Actually, so I'm in the middle of writing out a script for a YouTube video. That it's basically the gist of it. The title is gonna be, you should just buy a boat,
Right.
right?
I know
And
that. I
so
know that term.
yeah, so I'm writing out this script where it's all of the comments and the things I've heard over the years on YouTube videos that's like, well, with that money, you should just buy a boat.
Yep.
So I'm not gonna lie. So there are times in my mind, and like I'm YakTribe out. I'm the owner of YakTribe. Okay, so there are times where I think, all right, I'm gonna get old one day, and I'm gonna like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna be 70 years old, like YakTribe, you
Yeah,
know,
you are.
like my knees, and I'm just like killing myself trying to be in a kayak, or am I gonna be like, oh yeah, boat, this is awesome, I've had boats in the past, and by that time, my kids, I hope, will take YakTribe to another place I'd never even see, if they want to. But to answer your question, yes, I have wanted a boat in the past. Yes, I could even see myself having a boat in the future, to like bring my family out on. I have 4 kids, or like a pontoon boat, something like that.
Right. Yeah.
I've had boats in the past, but I can't really see myself getting away from kayak fishing. And the thing is like I also have a Bixby, like a motor for my kayak.
Yep.
And I'm not against putting it, and that's where I get the most comments is like, why don't you just get a boat? Okay, so you have a three. When I bought my kayak, it was 3,500.
Hmm.
So it's like, all right, you have a $3,500 kayak. You got a, depending on if you buy it new or used, you definitely got like a grand tied up in a motor, like a Bixby. Okay, so now you're like 4,500 bucks, right? And you can go like trolling motor and like outfit stuff. You can be way under that. But let's just say for my setup, bare bones with the motor, I'm rocking like 4,500 bucks. I can tell you this: I can go on Facebook Marketplace right now in St. Petersburg, Florida, and get a pretty nice boat for $4,500 because people, it's like a dime a dozen out here. Like, people buy boats and sell them, and people die and they sell their dad's boats. Like,
Right.
they don't care out here in Florida at
Man, I'm gonna
all.
have to go out there and get me one.
I was gonna say you should come out here and shop for your Hobie or whatever, because old people, they buy kayaks. I used to actually buy and sell kayaks on a regular basis, because old people would buy kayak because the chiropractor or the doctor would say, hey, kayak, it's great for your back. So they'd go to Bill Jackson's and drop like a few $1,000s, and then they realize I can't sit for that long, and they'd sell it for like $1,000 for two. And anyways, so I'm going through the script, writing the different, why I shouldn't just buy a boat. But without being funny, my main things are like this. I have like actual storage issues, right? I can't store a boat. Maintenance issues. I'll be honest with you. I'm not one of those guys who just can hop under a hood of a car and be like, well, it's that bolt right there. And I'm just not that guy. I'm the guy that like, I'll work on my house. Like I'll do drywall and all that, but I'll have to call my brother and be like, bro, I got problems with my
Right.
engine. So maintenance issues, they say boats are like a whole, just black hole. I get that. Cause 2 boats I had, they were kind of like that. You got to put money into it if you're not a mechanic. And then also like sneaking up on fish. And so in Florida where I fish, I just put out this video where I was on top water reds. I was like pulling in these reds on top water, and here about 50 yards away from me, it goes from a flat to a hole, and these boats could not get on the 6 inches of water I was doing top water reds on. And it's like, I'm so sneaky. And I was just talking to a friend at church, and he was like, I see all these reds. He's in a John boat, He's like, I see all these reds, and it's like, man, every time I pull up on them, they just run away. I don't even got a chance. And I was like, why are they running away? They never run away from my kayak. I wasn't being snarky. I was asking. He was like, I mean, I'm just running the trolling motor, And I was like, dude, you zoomed up on the flat. And then you stop. So it was like, boom, and like all the water, right? And then you hit that mount and through your trolling motor, splash. And then you're just bloop, 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 going through the water. Of course they're running away.
They're hearing it. Yep.
Yeah. So it's just like these differences and these issues that I have on why I won't really just make a boat my priority fishing vessel, because I've had too much success. I say that like super humbly. I'm not like, I don't catch a ton of fish. I'm not that guy. But I'm saying like, I've had more success fishing off of a kayak, being super sneaky by myself and just sneaking up on fish. I also don't want a boat because I know I'm YakTribe and everything, but I don't want to take people on my boat. I like single, like you ever fish on a boat with somebody?
Oh yeah.
Okay, here's the problem with fishing on a boat with somebody. You're both good fishermen. Say you're a good fisherman, like me and you. Say you and I go out. Let's say we're average fishermen. But here's the thing. In your mind, when we pull up on a piece of marsh or a mangrove, you're going to have a way that you want to fish it. I'm going to be like, I want to go fish like this. And it's just not going to be fun for one of us, because we're going to be like catering to the other person. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get it.
Yeah, when Adam and I go out, or 3 of us go out, it's just like, hey, peace out. I'm going to be on this mark.
Right.
I'm gonna be on that.
We'll launch together, but then you just start spreading out.
I'll be like, hey, holler if you're on the fish, and then we'll fish the general area together.
Right.
Yeah, it's like that.
So I have a boat, but so when I had the same thing. When I got my kayak, I got it for $2,500 on Facebook Marketplace. Great deal, because they were $3,500 at the time, brand new. And this kid had, I mean, dude, they didn't even have any like oyster ash on the bottom, like no scratches, no nothing. It had a little toolbox came with it, the little tackle box that fits on the side, had a rod holder. I mean, this thing was immaculate. Like it just came out the store, and then it only took me 2 weeks to make it look like it'd been through a war. But when just the 2,500 I spent, people like, man, you could have just got a boat. You could have got a boat. I'm like, yeah, well, I didn't. So
and you could have.
Yeah, but I mean, 2,500, you're probably gonna get a boat you have to work on. So
probably.
I go ahead and just get that kayak. And then it came time when I bought my boat, and then a bunch of my buddies was like, "Oh yeah, you'll never use that kayak again. You'll never use that kayak again." And I never understood that mentality, because people have trucks but that don't mean they stop riding their motorcycle. You
Right,
know what I
right.
mean?
And it's a different application. Yeah,
It's a completely different experience.
sure.
I mean, fishing out of a kayak is a completely different experience than fishing out of a boat.
Hmm.
So, it's not one or the other. It's a both and type of thing.
Yeah,
And to
yeah,
you, like you were saying, when the 6 inches of water, I went out the other day in my favorite super secret fishing hole, that you actually know about, because I think that was one of the places we fished. I'm not gonna say it out loud just in case
yeah, yeah.
anybody's
I
trying
got
to
you.
creep in
I
on it.
got you.
But it used to be like a cypress forest, and now it's nothing but cypress stumps, towards the
Yeah,
bank and everything.
yeah,
And it's been several times. Now, a few people know about it. You'll get kayaks and stuff out there every now and then. But I see boats that are out in the middle of it that can't get to that edge. I've
right.
been there before where I'm pulling red after red after red, and I'm watching them on the edge as far as they can come in, not
Yeah,
catching anything. They get frustrated and leave.
right.
And then while I was out there the other day, I'm doing the same thing. I mean, they were everywhere. They're stacked up in there.
Yeah,
And this $90,000 boat with big old high platforms and everything come out there, and they stop and they looking around and they're like, and then they just left. And I'm like,
yeah,
man,
yeah,
y'all don't even know.
yeah.
Because I mean, out there, it's rare to have to throw a fish back because he's too small. It's usually because you
Okay.
already got, there's too many bull reds.
Yeah, you got you. Yeah, yeah.
And I love, man, yeah, it's just nothing
I
like it.
feel that. Yeah, cause we got this spot right. It's like in by my house, and it's when I do my sheep's head fishing. So when we hit like November, December, the water's like cold, getting
Hmm.
cold. January, it's like our sheep's head are just like stacked. They stack up, and so I got this spot right where it's like you have to launch at an actual boat ramp. Okay, but then you have to go through a residential like inner like waterway, houses on the water, like canals. Okay, so boats, yeah, you can still get there, but then it goes through like this crazy mangrove tunnel, and boats can't get there, only kayak. And it goes through like this, and it's like super low. You gotta like go under mangroves. There's like crabs, tree crabs fall in your kayak, all that kind of stuff. Save those for bait.
The
And
heck is
then
a tree crab?
like those mangrove crabs, like
No,
fiddler crabs. We have fiddler crabs, and they're
I
like
don't know if you have
little.
those.
Yeah, they're like little crabs. But anyways, my point is you like zigzag through this thing, and then it opens up, and there's like this old abandoned dock, and the sheep's head are just stacked over there. The only way to get there is through kayak or through paddleboard or something like that, you know? And I'm like addicted to finding areas like that. Whereas, I don't know, man. Maybe that's just my excuse for fishing out of a kayak and not getting a boat.
No, I mean, no, I loved it. I love it because I get in
Yeah.
they got a spot right here by the house that I went fishing recently and caught a couple bass that I couldn't find them anywhere else, but I found them
Yeah.
back there, and you
Yeah.
couldn't get over the spot.
And I
Like
also
you,
feel like I just feel like you catch more fish in a kayak because you're limited, like your brain, and it's a psychological thing where like when I had a boat, I was like zooming. And I know you could be like more disciplined, but I was zooming around the spots. But in a kayak, you really do you look at points different, and you look at things on the bank different, and you're like you can't just zoom around so fast. So you really are like really fishing that area. You really are. And that's when I feel like in the kayak, and if you think about your fishing history, because you've been in a kayak for a long time,
mm-hmm.
I have a feeling, and maybe I'm wrong, so I just have a feeling that some of your best spots, or like your spots that you're like, ooh, I know there's fish there. You probably found it in your kayak, more spots in your kayak than your
Oh yeah,
boat.
absolutely.
Yeah, because you're like really tediously going through that area.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're limited. You're not gonna be able to go, 15 miles a day in your
Yeah.
kayak. So you gotta kind of pick a spot, and then
You
then
gotta
you like
learn it.
picking it apart. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
when I'm in my kayak, dude, like, I mean, I might stay in a 1 mile area, but I'm picking it apart. Like
Yeah.
it might take me 30 minutes to go down a bank that if I was in my boat with the trolling motor, might only take me 10 minutes. Yeah.
Or you might pass them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
see ya.
And in pressured, in high pressured waters, they start learning that trolling motor sound.
Yeah. And you know what's funny in my area, in my specific area, I have seen a handful of guides that started out as kayak fishermen. All they were kayak fishermen, like live and die by the kayak. Now they're in flats boats, and they're smart because they get those really nice ones that, you know, can go in 3, 4, 5 inches of water.
Yep.
And they don't use trolling motors and stuff. They only use push poles. They're basically trying to be a kayak fisherman, but in a skiff. And they have some of the most successful guides and pulling in fish. And they start off as kayak anglers because they know the holes, they know the spots.
Yep.
And now
that's
they
getting
start
real
guide
popular.
service. Yeah.
That's getting real popular. I see them all the time now, those little skiffs with the platform.
Yeah.
They got a platform over the motor where they push pull and then a platform on the front.
It's like they're trying to be kayak anglers. They're trying to be. They're just a little, you know.
Well, it's easy to take somebody out as a guide, you know, in the same boat, and you can just. But a lot of fly fishing from those.
Yeah. Hey, you know, Miss Lisa, Mr. Yeah. You know, Miss Lisa, Mr. Eddie. You know how they got that John boat and they put that tower on it?
Yeah.
Rex and I were fishing it a few years ago, and we were just like, let's just do this thing, you know, let's just put the kayaks up. And we took it out for like a week straight. We're like, we're gonna give this boat, because we were staying there for like a month, so let's do a week of like boat content. And there was a moment where we were on the tower, and I'm smiling because we were just like catching these fish, big fish. It was just a great day. And we both looked at each other. We were on the top of the tower together. And you know, when you got 300 pounds up there, it's like,
yeah.
Whoa!
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we're like trying to be super still. But we both look at each other and we're like, we basically knew the deal. We were like, this is awesome. This is really awesome. You know, but
I want to get so I got a surface drive, like a little mud boat.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to get out there, especially for a video, and just I got one of them like little giant ladders. I want to just stand it up and strap it down to the boat with some ratchet straps. Yeah. And I got the Minn Kota trolling motor with the remote, so I can control it from up on top of the ladder. I'm gonna do it one of these days. Bro. Oh yeah, no, it's gonna be a cool ass video for sure. But I mean, I just think it would be hilarious, and it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I want to build a platform for it eventually. You know, nothing too big, maybe 3-4 foot high. Just to do that. But I'm getting a little bit more braver on my Hobie, because I mean, I watched you stand on an ice or stand on the armrest of your chair.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But
I
mean, they're sturdy enough. It's just I guess I'm just not confident enough in it.
Yeah, or just throw a cooler. I throw a cooler and stand on that in the back.
Yep.
Yeah. But you were saying fly fishing. I do a little bit of fly fishing. It's like, if it's like a pie chart, it would be like 1%. Whoop.
Right.
You know, I'm actually fly fishing this week. So I'm out here in Georgia, and I just taught my son how to use a fly rod. And we just I caught 9-10 trout on the fly. We just ate them all for dinner at the campsite. Nice. And he caught a few, his very first few. That's awesome. Just using like tiny little bugs, you know, little flies. And the rainbow trout just murdering them. So we were doing that. But I caught where I got to catch my first red on fly was in Louisiana, because I was like, if there's gonna be redfish who will eat on a fly, it's gonna be here, because the reds were much more plentiful. So I caught a few over there. But back here at home, what I want to do one day, just to get better at fly fishing, is do the same thing that I did when I wanted to stop using cut shrimp. Is I just went out kayak fishing and only brought lures, and then I was like forced to have to do it, you know?
Yep.
So I think one of these, I was gonna say days, but let's say one of these years, I'm gonna leave all my rods at home and just bring a fly rod and just have to suck it up and try, you know?
That's what I do when I want to learn a bait, man. I just bring that bait, that lure, and bring 2 or 3 of them, and just gotta. But the thing is that you can catch the fish on it, but when you got a new bait that you're not confident in, the whole time you're throwing it, you're thinking about that. Man, I bet you they biting on this. I bet you they biting on that.
I just scared of the skunk.
So you don't give it the time. Yeah.
I'm scared of the skunk, bro.
Gotta do it. Gotta put it in your hand.
That's
I
actually one. Speaking of skunks, I'm actually putting out YakTribe's releasing here in the next few weeks. We're releasing, the flags that go on the back of your kayak,
Yep.
like the red flags, like the safety flags
Yep.
when you're towing them. So we're releasing those like YakTribe designed ones. We're actually homemaking them, like literally my
Oh, nice.
mom's sewing them and I'm pressing them.
Awesome.
And because like I wanted like the best quality gear,
Right.
not like this 2-stitch seam stuff that breaks apart. It's just so annoying. But I'm also we're gonna be selling black, like the same flag, but it's all black, not red, and it has the word skunk with the silhouette of a skunk on it. So like when you go out fishing with a group of guys, whoever gets skunk has to keep that flag tied to the back of his kayak until the
That's
next time y'all
awesome.
meet up.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Man, we need to do that meetup that got canceled twice because of COVID.
Oh, I know, bro. Yeah, the
Because
Alabama one.
I was looking so forward. That place looked awesome, man. It
It
looked
is
awesome.
awesome. Yeah, and Vicky keeps hitting me up about it. So like, YakTribe, we're still doing our thing, and we're still rolling, man. So I'm hoping to do more of that stuff, soon. So I appreciate you for even supporting that when we put it up.
Oh yeah, man. Definitely. You your camper got destroyed, didn't it?
Absolutely destroyed. That was like a sad thing that really tested like our faith, because not really like really tested our faith, but obviously we're Christians, and so
Yep.
it's like, we try not to hold on to earthly possessions and like covet items, and just that type of thing, like love an item so much that if it's
Right.
gone it just rocks our world. But it's like when that camper got destroyed in that hurricane in Louisiana, and it was in high ground, we moved it all to the church, all that stuff, and it broke our hearts, man, because it's like two of our kids were raised in that camper.
Yeah, memories, man. Memories.
So many memories of people coming into the camper. I mean, we cooked dinners and lunches for people out that camper. It was just so many memories, and it was just hard to see it just like ripped up and messed up, and yeah, that was tough.
I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know if you've seen any of the videos on my channel with the hurricane. That was Ida, wasn't it? The same one that got
Was
y'all?
it Ida? I don't know. I blocked it out of my memory.
Yeah, I hear you. But I had moved here to Lafitte 3 months before Ida hit,
Yeah.
and talk about rock my world. And I mean, you just got to go check it out. Go on the channel. I got a playlist with Hurricane Ida. Just watch like
Yeah,
the
I
first
will.
couple, and because I've lived here all my life in Louisiana. We've had storms. Like even Katrina didn't affect me much. Like the house I was living in was fine. It sucked because it took 2 weeks just to get back home, and there was a lot of infrastructure stuff that affected me. But I personally, with my personal possessions, wasn't really affected. So Katrina wasn't. I mean, of course, it was a big deal, but it wasn't
Yeah.
as impactful on me
Yeah.
as this was Ida. So this is the first time I actually experienced the hurricane, jacking my stuff up. But
Dude. I
I'm thankful for it, man. I mean, that's what builds character. I wouldn't give up what how I've learned and grown from it. So
Yeah, man. I have this one story. I don't know if you have time for it.
yeah.
So I swore I would never tell this story ever because it really shows. It's really bad for my character, like who I am as a person. It's
Uh-huh.
like defaming, like defacing all those things. Okay, so I was in Florida when I lived in Florida when Katrina hit.
Mhm.
Okay, and growing up, like people had snow days.
Yeah.
We had hurricane days where it was just
Yeah.
like I was always boarding up houses, and I just grew up in that environment. I never really like people who got hit by hurricanes. I was just like, we've been hit by hurricanes. Like, what's the big deal? And I remember when Hurricane Katrina hit, I was young, uh, but it wasn't like that significant of an event for me because like y'all are so far away from where I am,
Right.
and
Yep.
I knew like people were displaced and all these things, but later on in life, I learned like how much that affected like homes and people and like destroyed lives, and like I felt the full weight of that. I understand. So let me just say that I understand that, right? Okay, so here in it was probably like 2018 or 2017. Okay, so Xavier comes to an Alabama meetup, Gulf Shores, Alabama. We have a meetup, and we're fishing, and we get done, and he brings one of his interns. You know, he's always like in the community and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and like shining light and doing good things. So he's got one of his interns with him. He's probably like 17, 18 years old. So, man, this is such a shame. So we get done fishing, and we're eating at Chick-fil-A, and we're just kicking it, talking about old times. Oh, remember when we fished Louisiana, this and that, da 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 da, all this type of stuff. We're just kicking it. And his intern says, "Well, when are y'all coming back through? I'd love to fish with you guys." I said, "Man, we're coming back through soon." And he's like, "Dude, you gotta come. You gotta come through. You gotta come through." I was like, "Yeah, man, you know it. I'll be coming through like Katrina." Yeah, you think it's funny, but his face, he lived through that.
Oh man.
Like, he lived through New Orleans Katrina. And his face went from loving me and wanting me to be there to,
Yep.
and Xavier, it was a solemn moment. Xavier goes, "Hey, Heath, just want to let you know his entire family was affected by this. And I'm just going to let you know, as your friend, because I love you, never ever say that again. Because if you do say that in front of the wrong person, they might kill you." And I was like, "I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Forgive me." I was like falling on my
Jeez.
sword. I'm the worst person alive. But bro, that is like one of my most embarrassing moments or like times I ever felt. It's like I didn't realize how messed up that would say to say that. But I'm a bigger person now. I'm a new person.
Yeah.
I will never make that joke again.
Well, it's weird like if you're not affected, directly by it, like you're so detached from it that
Yeah,
things like
dude.
that will slip without even thinking about it until you see how it's affected somebody, and
I
then that's
know.
when it becomes
Exactly.
real.
Now it's
Yeah.
like it's like the realest thing ever. Don't be messing
Yeah.
around telling jokes. But yeah, man, I was thankful for Xavier and his intern's grace that day because he so much grace. I'm so sorry I said that. Now I
Yeah.
understand the
Xavier's a
full
good
weight of
dude.
what happened. He is, man. I love him, man.
Where's he at now?
I know
Didn't he
he's
go to Florida?
yeah, he moved to Florida, and I think he's like in Alabama now or something. I gotta catch up
Okay.
with him.
Yeah, because I
Yeah,
know
bro.
he was at the seminary down here.
Yep, yep, yep.
I want to say is that how I met him? Man, I don't know that.
I don't know. I feel like you just kind of met organically through kayak fishing.
Yeah, I'm getting old. My memory's not so
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
But look,
Dude,
we gotta
you,
fish. We gotta get back on the water again.
yes, yes. I was
You can
exactly
come
what I was
sleep in
about
the
to say.
YakTribe bus. Come to Florida. Yeah,
Heck
come to
yeah,
Florida.
dude.
You can sleep in the bus. It's got AC and everything, and we'll get on some snug.
Yeah, we'll have to plan that out, man. I'll look at my calendar and I'll get with you because I can do some swapping, some
100%.
shifts around to get over there. Um,
That'd be awesome.
but yeah, man. And then whenever you're ready to come down here, I'm actually this Sunday I'm going to my mom's house and pick up a bed. I have a spare room in this house 'cause I moved to this house 2 years ago. So I'm gonna have a spare room with a bed. So anytime you want to come down to Lafitte, and
How far
we
are you
got
from like fishing reds?
like across the road. Like
What?
I'm like across the bayou from my house. Yeah. So there's a spot right across where I go fishing. I go bass fishing there, but I catch redfish every time I go bass fishing right there.
Mm,
And then, I mean, there's tons of places. But as far as kayak fishing, that super secret spot I was talking about earlier, that's about an hour away, which,
gotcha. Okay.
which is nothing, but you almost
Yeah.
guaranteed reds over there.
Yeah, man.
So
That's what's up. You're in a great spot
it
to
is nice.
keep making content, man. And I always just who was I talking to? Talking to you about somebody recently, and we were basically like, I don't know how Vinny hasn't like blown up. Like, I mean, like, because you have like some of the most underrated content out there. I was like,
dude.
you know, just your consistency, man. I think it's gonna pay off for you one day.
I've been told that
It's because
by
your
so
content's
many
so good. The
people.
quality of your content, yeah,
I appreciate that, man. I put a lot of hard work into it, and then I look at it, and I'm like, man, the algorithm hates me. I don't know why,
dude.
but
Just
maybe it's
keep
just
at
not
it,
my
man.
time yet, and
Yeah.
maybe it's just not my
You're gonna
time
be
yet, and
happy
we're just
one
gonna
day
have
when
to.
all those videos stack up, and then you hit that point where everyone's watching all your old videos because they wanted to
Yeah.
know, you know, like that. It just comes with that consistency, man. It's just like
Well, I made up my
it's
mind
gonna
when
happen.
I started the channel. I'm like, I'm gonna do it or die trying. I was like,
Yeah,
I've started a lot of things and never went through with it, and I'm
yeah,
like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it, and then. To be honest with you, I enjoy it so daggone much that it gets discouraging every now and then when when I'm not growing like I think I should or everyone else thinks I should.
yeah,
But you know what? I get out there, I'm fishing, I'm making videos. I enjoy the whole process. So
yeah. What
I
I
just
tell myself is like, even if this social media thing or content thing doesn't like blow up for me or pay off, at least I have all the memories of me fishing.
yep.
And when I'm, 80 years old, I could pull out my old hard drive and watch my fishing adventures. Like
Yep.
at least I did it for myself. It's like my own diary.
And then your kids get to see it too. Like
Yeah,
I
it's like
would
a
love
fishing
to
diary.
have like a YouTube video from when my dad was younger and his
Dude.
cousins going out and doing things. I'd love to be like, 'cause I hear the stories and the stories are great.
Yeah.
You got, but I would have loved to have seen some of it. But
Yeah, definitely,
but
man.
that
That's the whole thing. So,
but the hour's up and I want to respect your time, man. I know you're out there camping with your fam.
yeah,
So I'm gonna let you get back to them. I really appreciate you coming on,
yeah,
brother. We'll have you on again. Definitely
absolutely.
gonna get you on here again.
Yeah, man. I hope you have me back. We can talk about some other things for sure.
Yep,
But
we
maybe
sure
you can even
shall.
teach me a little bit about talk to me about how to catch bass or something. I don't know, man. But it's
Heck
always a
yeah.
pleasure hanging out with you, bro.
Well, tell everybody where they can find you on your platforms and YakTribe and all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. We got, for me, you can find me at Heath Panganiban on Instagram, Heath Panganiban on YouTube as well. But even if you don't follow me, if you're into fishing, kayak fishing, fishing, whatever, follow YakTribe. It's just at YakTribe on Instagram, or our website is yak-tribe.com, and that's getting revamped with a whole bunch of different new things and new products coming up. So it's pretty much where it's at, man. I appreciate you guys.
Right on, man. All
Yes,
right, guys.
sir.
So we do this every Tuesday or Wednesday, according depending on my work schedule. Just letting you know if you don't want to watch it live on YouTube, you can always catch it wherever you get your podcasts.